welcome back to the channel. My name is Liana and you're hanging out with the Potted Couple. Today I just wanted to make a quick video and talk about some of the plant mistakes I made as a beginning plant parent. And you know, I'm still going on a plant journey. I think I've had plants for about 3 years now, and I still make some of these mistakes and probably even more mistakes, but I just wanted to name a couple that I made, especially in the beginning, just so it might help a couple of you guys to prevent making from these mistakes, or we can all learn from them together. So as always, I'm gonna look down at my notes and make sure I hit all my points, so that way I try not to forget anything. But also, if you guys have made any mistakes, or if you want to leave anything in the comment section, that's appreciated as well. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about mistake number 1. So my first mistake in my plant journey was buying plants without doing the research. I was buying plants without knowing the proper requirements, like the lighting, the environment, they needed humidity, what kind of water, how much water. I was doing all of these things. So I think when I first started my plant journey, I used to buy 2 plants, 2 of each plant, which was kind of dumb now that I think about it, because by the time you do that, you'll have twice as many plants, and you might not even be good at taking care of those plants. So what sense does it make to get 2 of them? I have no idea, but I think I started out with, I bought 2 different Bacchias, which I do not buy anymore, and I could never get the watering and light right with those plants. And I see a lot of people struggling with those plants, so I don't know if it's just a difficult plant or a plant that's misunderstood, but that was one. I had a Calathea, I had 2 Calathea, the White Fusion, and I thought that plant was so beautiful. I think it was actually one of a rescue plant, because I found it at like this Amish market, and they were like burning up to a crisp. So I thought, you know, I'd take it home and love it and care for it and just nourish it back to health. And I struggled with that plant. It was growing beautiful. I kind of had the lighting right, and then the spider mites attacked, and then I got the spider mites, you know, then the watering wasn't right. And I can't remember at this point if I had a moisture meter. I'm not sure. I think that was when we were about to find moisture meters, because it was hard for us to find moisture meters in the beginning. But that plant just took me. It was just like an emotional roller coaster. I could not figure out what that plant wanted. And when I first started my plant journey, I only had 1 north-facing window. So let's just keep this in mind for the rest of this little story. Then, I don't know what it was. Actually, I do know what it was, which will bring me to mistake number 2. I thought it was a good idea to get a fiddle leaf fig. And not only 1 fiddle leaf fig, but I bought 2 for a north-facing window. If you've ever had a fiddle leaf fig, if you know anything about a fiddle leaf fig, they want more light than a north-facing window. So then it led me to buy other things to maintain their health, which will be in later mistakes. But let's just say, going from a different Bacchia to a Calathea to a fiddle leaf fig, none of these are even beginner plants. I should have started out with a snake plant. I should have started out with a ZZ. I should have started out with a pothos. There's so many choices. But starting out with the Calathea, which I never, ever, ever buy, because I do not like finicky plants. And then moving to the fiddle leaf fig was a huge mistake. Not doing my research. Mistake number 2, getting caught up in the plant craze. Now, if you're a social media person and you like being on YouTube, you like being on Instagram, it is so easy to get caught up in the craze of these trendy plants and these beautiful plants and all these pictures and the lighting, and it just makes the plants look so good, and you're just like, oh, I gotta have it. Yes, that sent me down just the deepest rabbit hole possible. It was so bad. At one point, I had about 40 plants on my office desk. my coworkers thought I was nuts. And if I had an outer body experience, I probably would have thought I was nuts too. Because who brings that many plants to work? And then, I did that because I had a ton at home. Because, you go from 0 to 60 and it just makes no sense. But that's what happened when I started watching YouTube. I went from fiddly figs and then I found my way to succulents. I don't even buy succulents anymore because they're not my jam. But here I had about 40 succulents or so on my office desk, and now I don't even like them anymore. I mean, I like them from afar, but I don't like them from my own personal collection. But that's what I had because the plant craze. I bought too many plants at too quick of a pace. Now, I still do this from time to time, i.e. quarantine, but I kind of blame that on quarantine. I can blame it on quarantine. But the key is not to buy too many different variety of plants all at one time, because you have to figure out what you like. But the key is to figure out what you like at a slow pace. That way you're not wasting time, you're not wasting money, a whole lot of money. It's okay to, lose a couple here and there, but if you're not knowing what you're good at, you could lose a lot of plants, i.e. you could lose a lot of money, time, and energy. I was buying everything. I had peperomias, I had succulents, I think I had a couple cacti, and I don't even keep those in my collection. I had Aurelias, and those are so beautiful, but I cannot deal with their behavior. I had everything. I was going to Lowe's and Home Depot like every weekend. We were going to different nurseries like 3 times a week, traveling to Philly and all these different areas, and I was just buying all the plants, and it was fun. And then I realized I had a lot of plants and I didn't enjoy them all. So it was time to do a transition, to say goodbye to some of the plants that were giving me a hard time, which I think is healthy for a collection and to have a good mind space. Sometimes you can't keep all the plants you have. It happens. And I don't think we should feel bad about it. I think it's healthy. I think it keeps us from being too overwhelmed. And, it could keep your collection at a good spot, If you're someone who needs like a cat. Now, if you're someone who can take care of hundreds of plants, then that's different. But some people aren't like that. Mistake number 3, listening to everyone's advice. Now, it's easy and it makes sense to watch a whole bunch of people's YouTube videos, but you have to be careful who you take advice from. It's just like when you lose weight, who you take advice from. When you back technology, who you take advice from. You want to take advice from the experts. Makes sense. However, watching YouTube, it can cause you to buy everything on the planet, from grow lights to watering cans to shelves to everything. You just want to buy everything, and you want to change everything all at the same time, and you don't even know what's working. You move the plant here, you move the plant there, you move the plant there the next day, and you don't even know what spot is helping it to grow. You just have to find out what works for you. You have to try it in your own journey. You have to take it at a pace that you're comfortable with. You just can't hop into plants and then get your collection up to 100 and then buy 1,000 grow lights. You will burn out. You will realize that your wallet hates you, and it won't be a fun journey. So if I could start it all over again, I wouldn't have bought peperomias. I wouldn't have bought a lot of Hoyas, although I still don't have a lot of Hoyas. I wouldn't have bought all those succulents and cacti. I just would have taken it a lot slower, at a pace that is reasonable. You just have to know what works for you. And the same thing goes with making your own soil composition. We fell into the trap of You know, you need to buy orchid bark, you need to buy soil, you need to buy perlite, you need to buy pumice. That stuff adds up. You just buy what you think will be good for your plants. My plants do good with just soil and perlite. And my wallet thanks me as well. The fourth mistake I made was being too attentive. And I think this was before I got the moisture meter. But just, you know, oh, I think my plant is, I think it's dry. It's drooping. Let me just water it. Oh, the soil looks a little bit light. Let me just water it. Instead of just, you know, taking the time, maybe doing the finger test, really getting to know the plant. Because sometimes when the plant leaves are droopy, it doesn't always mean that the plant needs water. The plant could be getting too much light and the leaves could be drooping. It could be something totally different. Like when I put my plants outside, the leaves droop because they weren't used to so much light and heat. But that doesn't mean I go out there and give it water. I still have to check with my finger or the moisture meter. This quarantine, I mean, I've really backed off my plants. I haven't been, you know, watering them, you know, all crazy. I don't, you know, hover over them so much. I actually need to do some moss poles and some trimmings. I just let my plants just do their thing, and I think they really appreciated it. So I think less is more, and less is more for me too, because before I was just so much on my plants. I was spending hours on my plants. I needed an hour or so on my plants all the time to maintain their health. And this time around, I just really wanted to take a step back and really appreciate the plants, but also have a space, not be so overwhelmed by my plants all the time. Because having a big collection, a small collection, you can get overwhelmed. Plants constantly grow. You need to up pot. You need to do all these things. You can get overwhelmed easily. So I just had to take a step back, and I really think that the plants and I are in a good spot now. And number 5, freaking out about pests. If you have plants, you're gonna have pests. That's just the reality of having a plant collection. There is no way that you're gonna prevent all pests all the time. You might not get a certain pest, like I don't get mealybugs too often. I think I've only had mealybugs twice. And some of the other ones, some of them I don't get. I don't think I get spider mites too often, but you're gonna get some kind of a pest. It's just inevitable. They're plants. They come from outside. If they come from someone else's house or they come from a nursery, they might bring pests into your house. Even if you change the soil, they still might bring pests into your house. They might, if you don't take all the soil off the root ball, there might be pests in there. You could have soil mites, soil mealybugs, soil like thrips. All these things are in the soil. Or when the plant is stressed, it sends out these like pheromones that attracts pests to your plant, and that's what happens. And that could be any form of stress, as like you overwatering it or you letting it dry out, i.e. spider mites. Spider mites, like when your plants are in a dry environment, that's what happens. And that's just the nature of having a plant collection. So it's not hard to, you know, get pests in the house, or if you leave the windows open, you like that fresh air like I do. So it's not something to be like all freaking out about. It's just the nature of it. You could do like a Dr. Bronner's, or like a essential oil mix, something like that, soap mix, or you can go with the pesticide systemics. I don't really do those too often. Or you could do neem oil. Like there's so many options. You don't have to freak out. Like your plants will be okay. Most of them bounce back. The only time they don't really bounce back is when you go hard and you don't dilute the product. I always recommend that you dilute the product according to the directions, because if you don't, your plants will not survive, especially if it's chemical. So those are the top mistakes I have. I probably made more mistakes. Lord knows I probably did. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about the mistakes. If you have any mistakes that you guys made, leave them in the comment section. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!